Welcome to my review of Kung Fu 2 for the PC. This is an unlicensed, fan-made type of game. The first time I beat it, I think it took me around 22 minutes to beat the first loop, which is pretty much beating the game because it's endlessly looping kind of game. And then I realized that was the unfinished version. It was super bullshitty. There was real cheap fucking bullshit with one of the bosses. I didn't even think I'd be able to beat it, but I managed to. I believe I posted a tutorial for that and the finished version, which this is the finished version, which just took me around 35 minutes to beat the first loop after I had already gone through the unfinished version, which is similar. Both of them are very similar, except for the unfinished version has some bullshit on the last few stages. Mainly the stage with the flame boss. So this game is very much like the original Kung Fu. But I would say it probably controls a little bit better. It's a lot more violent in the presentation. And it's very simple gameplay. So you're pretty much just moving from, right to left. Depending on how far you move the screen is when the boss appears. So you do get some special moves as shown on screen there, you see. So you get some various special moves you can use, and they're tied to your energy bar, which is below your life bar. So those can be useful for certain parts. But yeah, as usual, you try to kill everything that's in your way and get to the end where the boss is and then beat the boss of the stage. Just like the original game. Very simple concept. And it's really, it's pretty easy except for the one bullshit part with the fire boss. But that was in the unfinished version. I believe in this finished version, I believe they tightened that up and it made a lot more sense. But yeah, I will drop a link to the tutorials that I made on this game. I think I may have done tutorials for both versions, but don't remember exactly. But yeah, as usual, very simple type of gameplay, and it works well with how the first game was. I mean, it's very similar to that, with a few things added. Kung Fu Remix was actually, I would say, the better, like Kung Fu remake type of game, which I also played through on the channel. I'm not sure if I reviewed Kung Fu Remix yet, but I probably will if I didn't. And that was I would say that was a little bit better than this. But this ended up being quite good. I had this sitting on my PC for many years. I never actually played it. I downloaded it a long time ago. And the version I downloaded was, I guess, an early unfinished version. So I had to find the finished version. The unfinished version is ridiculous with the flame boss. It seems like almost unbeatable. I didn't know exactly what to do, but I was able to pull bullshit. But yeah, the game, it's mostly pretty easy. I mean, you're just going right to left, and it really doesn't get too hard. The original games on NES and arcade are much harder. So this is like an easier version of the Kung Fu games. At least for me, it was. I would say the control is better, too, so it makes it easier. So certain special moves will work well against certain bosses, as you can see. So I was able to get most of his health, down with a few fireballs. So, of course, in the original games, you didn't have any kind of special moves or anything, so it definitely makes it easier. I believe I show the full playthrough here, too. Since it's such a short game, I figured there'd be no point to try to edit it down for the review. So you can see exactly how the game plays out. But yeah, definitely worth playing through. If you're a fan of the original Kung Fu especially, it's worth checking out. Because it's a different variation of that gameplay. We never got a true sequel to that. There was Spartan X2, but that was a very different game, even though it was supposed to be a sequel. It played more like, an NES Ninja Gaiden or Shatterhand or something like that. It wasn't really like It didn't really feel like a sequel, from what I remember. So now you get new special moves as you beat stages. So you can experiment with them on the bosses. That's mainly where you're going to want to use them. I find them kind of useless to use on the regular enemies since they're powerful moves and they're only going to take out maybe one enemy. Maybe they'll take out a few in a row. I'm not sure. I didn't bother to use them on regular enemies too much, I don't think. Because you're mostly just trying to run to the boss and it's really not too hard. I see the spin kick was decent there. But I don't remember using them too much. Though certain special moves will really fuck up some of the bosses. So if you know their weakness, it does help. So here my controller was putting up these weird fucking menus that got me killed, so it was kind of shitty. For this guy, I think he's susceptible to the uppercut. So if you keep spamming the uppercut when he gets right up on you, that seems to really drain his health. Otherwise, this guy feels really fucking cheap, as you can see. He's extremely aggressive. You can't really push him back. So, I mean, like, the boss design is not always great. It can be kind of cheap. But, there's ways around it. In the unfinished version, this castle level was extremely cheap. Like, when you got to the boss, it was seemingly almost impossible to beat the boss. Which I do show. I have videos showing that, but this is going to be from the finished version, so this fight is actually going to be reasonable. So you do have some obstacles that weren't in the original game here with the fireballs. And there's definitely a lot of new enemies. But you can see you don't have to walk too far to get to the bosses. But yeah, here they made the boss quite easy. All you got to do is stay back and use fireballs. And your meter charges up with time, your special move meter. So, wait till it charges back up. I think I might have went into a finish, and maybe it didn't work too well that time, but you can see it's pretty easy. But in the unfinished version, it's ridiculous. Like, no matter what you fucking do, you're just it's gonna be a matter of trading damage until your health is nearly down to the last slither, and he's gonna push you to the other side of the screen while damaging you constantly because you can't push him back at all. So it's pretty ridiculous. So now there's only a few stages left. And the last few stages really aren't anything, too challenging. Normally in a game, the challenge would kind of go up as you get farther into the game. I mean, I didn't really notice it. I mean, I guess you could say there's more enemies and shit maybe, but I don't know. For me, I found this shit to be pretty damn easy overall, aside from a few bosses that I didn't know exactly what I needed to do, but the levels I found very, very easy. But the original Kung Fu is not the hardest game either, so it's, I can't say there's a huge difficulty gap between this and the original. I did find it easier, though. Because the original has a few bosses that can be kind of annoying, with the magician mainly. Sometimes you can lose some lives on him, but I didn't get held up for too long on anything in this version, aside from that flame boss in the unfinished version. But, I should have just started with the finished version, but I didn't even know that the one I had was incomplete. And your final boss is actually going to be the same as he is in the original game, Mr. X. And, very easy. He was very easy in the original game as well. You could exploit him with one move. For this, I don't remember exactly what I used to beat him. I just remember he was easy, but we'll see. I may not beat him on this life. I'm not sure. I remember him being a little tricky, maybe, but it didn't take long. You do get a checkpoint right next to the boss too, so unless you run out of lives. If you run out of all your lives, you'll go back to the beginning of the stage, but you have unlimited continues. Okay, yeah, it might be these little sweep kicks that work well on him. Every boss has a kind of a move that they're weaker to, or more susceptible to. But yeah, that's about it. After that, the game loops. And, it may be slightly harder on the loops. I didn't really... I think I did 2 loops, but I didn't notice much of a difference in difficulty. But yeah, overall, I'd probably give this game maybe a 6.5 out of 10. This is a game that I would say is a decent game. And I think if you like the original Kung Fu, you'd like checking this out just to see some of the differences. And, you get some new levels and shit like that you didn't have in the original, so it's kind of like an extension of the original in a way. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.